accident, you know it's no walk in the park. Car repairs, medical bills, and lost time from work all add up. And if the insurance company isn't paying their fair share, you have to cover the rest, even if it wasn't your fault. That's why you need an advocate. Call us today, and we'll do everything we can to get you moving again. Come on.
You deserve clear, risk-free advice to help get you back on your feet. You deserve an advocate.
This is the Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find the Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hey, the Monty Show on a Monday after a crazy weekend of college football. Dak Prescott got paid, the Bears won, and it's all brought to you by The Advocates. At theadvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business, guys. I tell you every week on this show, you get into an accident, you get hurt at work, you get hit while you're riding your bike. Unfortunately, in this world, it's a matter of when, not if. You need to be ready. Have it in your mind. The Advocates at theadvocates.com, or you can chat with an injury attorney live online 24/7, 365, and it won't cost you a dime. The Advocates at theadvocates.com. Make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show. Holy cow, what a weekend of football it was. And I don't know that we've seen a more, I couldn't come up with a better title today, a more shocking week in college football. Like the poor execution, the lack of quality, both in the NFL and in college football. I would remind you, I watched Deshaun Watson yesterday. I've seen bad football. But I am really surprised at the level of quarterback play and the way that it is deteriorated from the top of the AP poll down to the depths of awful footballness. I don't know how you explain it, and I've been covering the game of college football in the NFL for 30 years plus, and I don't think I can ever remember saying, wow, is this bad quarterback play on this level? I was shocked by it this weekend.
Certainly, and I think, the amazing thing is that great quarterback play can be a huge X factor for a football team. Great quarterback play can cover up a lot of deficiencies on your football team. And it's kind of amazing, when you look at, and there's a million examples this week, and we'll get to them, but you look at all these different examples of teams that really should be better, that in some cases are limited by their quarterback play. In some cases, these teams are really good defensively, but struggle offensively because their quarterback, just is not capable. And then we have other cases like Kyle McCord in Syracuse, who everyone wants to say is, on the Heisman train already, who's just playing out of his mind. And I'm just saying, hey, yeah, you're doing that at Syracuse. So I think there's a lot of different situations, but I would agree that quarterback play is not what it once was. And
obviously as a Notre Dame fan, there's no better example than Riley Leonard. And I look at that loss, and this is who Marcus Freeman is. And I know that the other day you guys were all telling me I'm just being a cynical Notre Dame fan, and I am just a bitter, broken man. And I don't disagree with that on a lot of levels, right? I did not hang the Notre Dame flag, certainly, because this is just another Marshall loss. You'll remember where we were ranked 8th in the country and lost to Marshall, lost to Stanford, who finished 3-9 that year. Got beaten badly by Louisville at home, as a top 10 team in the country. Just really a terrible loss to the Ohio State, a terrible loss, where you had 10 men on the field, and then just inexplicably, you don't show up. You play with no heart. You play with no fire against Northern Illinois, who you paid $1.4 million to come to South Bend to end your hopes of a college football playoff berth. And it's because everybody at Notre Dame wanted to put Riley Leonard up as some savior, and Marcus Freeman was right there with him as the great savior. And I think they're both completely inept and unable to execute at a level that is required at Notre Dame.
Certainly. And I think that, all the pundits reacting to this game as it goes down and, the field goal attempt gets blocked there at the end of the game. Everyone's sitting here saying, oh, that this is shocking, that this is incredible, that NIU just had this amazing performance. And give NIU credit, probably played the best game that they're, capable of. But this had nothing to do with NIU.
Come on.
This had everything to do with Notre Dame just not getting the job done. And I don't know why we're having trouble just saying that. Like, I feel like everyone was like, oh my God, what an incredible moment for NIU. And it's like, dude, like, yes, great win for them. Like, ridiculous win for them. But this is about Notre Dame very clearly.
You had no heart. You did not compete. Your defense did the job, and you just can't compete offensively. You don't have the it factor, and Riley Leonard ain't that guy. I think that was the worst loss of the weekend. The chances of Notre Dame going to the college football playoff are gone. It's over. You don't recover from a loss like that. And then when you got a bunch of people sitting around a table in November and December trying to figure out who the top 12 teams are, they're like, hey, is Notre Dame one of the top 12 teams? Yeah, well, that loss at Northern Illinois, and you know what the real problem is? This cupcake schedule where they don't really play road games.
Mm-hmm.
Notre Dame has no way back. Notre Dame has no way to get to the college football playoff. And I think they are in this same boat with Florida State. At least Florida State can win a conference championship.
Uh-huh.
And you may not be as good as Miami is, who, by the way, finished 10th in the AP poll. The only ACC or Big Ten team in the top 10, Miami Hurricanes. So you're looking at a situation where now you got a lot of folks that have a very steep hill to climb. And then you turn your attention to the Big 12, because I think some of the storylines out of the Big 12 this week, I look at Oklahoma State. And I don't know how many more different ways that I can tell you it has been long past due to hit the panic button in Stillwater. We talked about this all summer long, and I know that we take a lot of heat on this show for talking about this team just being untalented. There is a lack of talent, especially at the skill positions. I do not buy that somehow these wide receivers, as the legendary Oak State James wants to say, it's the best wide receiver room in the country. It's not close. It's not. You don't have a quarterback. I don't know what is wrong with Ollie Gordon. I don't know where this fighting and chipping and pushing and shoving with guys who shouldn't be able to even speak with you, but yet you want to have officials warning you. I mean, you're looking at the head official telling Ollie Gordon over the weekend to settle down. Like, what are you doing at Oklahoma State?
Yeah, I mean, not anything that you should be doing. And what's incredible is you look at Gundy, and it's like I was surprised that the messaging was, oh, officiating and this and that, and the messaging wasn't, hey, like, we have to be better. Hey, like, our execution needs to be better. Hey, by the way, maybe we should get a little more creative on offense. Hey, by the way, maybe we should be better in these different areas. But what does Mike want to do? Mike wants to roll up in the post game, and he wants to talk about how, the officials cost them 3 seconds and, essentially were the reason that they went to overtime in this game.
No, the reason you went to overtime in this game is because Taylon Green and Jaquindon Jackson tore up a pretty average defense. And I think that when we talk about the teams that got exposed this weekend, I don't think there's any doubt Notre Dame is up there. But I also don't think there's any doubt that Oklahoma State, for the second week in a row, struggled to win a football game. And you're now 2-0, and I think you're very lucky to be 2-0. And I think it simply is because Alan Bowman is not a very good quarterback. I honestly, if you had Taylon Green, if he was wearing an Oklahoma State uniform, you'd have won that game by 40 points.
Uh-huh.
But because it's Alan Bowman and he makes terrible decisions, and again, What did I tell you about Alan Bowman? He throws for 326 yards on a 6.8 yard average. He just is not that guy. And you look at the wide receivers and, like DeJon Stribling, and DeJon Stribling, 4 catches for 38 yards is not the stuff of national champions. It's not the stuff of college conference champions. And then after the game, my least favorite coach in the country, who I think Mike Gundy is one of the most overrated guys in all of college football. And I'll continue to say it. If you want to win a national championship at Oak State, Mike Gundy can't be your head coach. End of sentence. That's the whole take. When this team eventually wins a national championship, Mike Gundy won't be the head coach because he makes excuses, he complains, and he takes zero accountability. Zero accountability. He holds his players to zero accountability. And then when they underperform, and they woefully underperformed against Arkansas, he wants to blame everybody but his players.
Steve Shaw is the head of the officiating, and he needs to fix it. He needs to get them all in one room, and everybody has the same rule. They messed something up. I'm not sure what they messed up. I don't really care. But all I know is they gave us a 3-second play on a 9-yard run. And that's where I had an issue with it. They said when the ball was blown dead after the play at 3 seconds after the snap. There's no way. I mean, maybe it was. I've been wrong before, but I'm going to guess it was a 6-second play. Okay, I'm good that you're going to restart the 40, but it wasn't 143. It should be about 139. And here's what's interesting in football. They said, Coach, it's only 3 seconds anyway. And I said, every second counts. Do you realize how many seconds there were left when they tied the game? 2. So I'm just saying, I mean, they said, okay, well, every second counts. Okay, really? It's only 3 seconds, Coach? There was 2 left. Worked out, but it is what it is.
So what did the 2 seconds matter? And again, if you had a quarterback, if you had a defense, we wouldn't be worried about 3 seconds. And if your argument is, well, there were 2 seconds, so then you're telling me that they wouldn't have kicked the field goal? This is all nonsense. Oak State's not a conference championship football team. They don't execute. They don't play defense. And Ollie Gordon is not in the right headspace. That's as simple as I can put it.
Day.
Like you look at his performance last year to this year. Is he a guy that runs for 2.9 yards a carry against Arkansas?
No.
Apparently he is. Because you look at his performance this year, and it is not scintillating. It is not. I mean, he has under, what is he got? He ran for 49 yards on 17 carries. And if they don't go to overtime, he doesn't score a touchdown. The Big 12 is in trouble because that team's not good.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing in this game might have been the attitude about it that Oklahoma State brought to the game. I mean, I'm flipping around between all these games over the weekend, and I'm watching parts of this game, and I'm like, dude, like, where's the fire? Where is the game wrecker that was known as Ollie Gordon last year? Where is that? Because Oklahoma State's always been a team that's like kind of edgy and that's how they've gone about winning a lot of games, which is fine. I don't even have a problem with that. But if that's going to disappear in this just best running back in the country candidate is going for 2.9 against Arkansas, like it just tells me everything I need to know about where this program is at. And again, wind the clocks back to Media Day. This is why Media Day was such a problem, because it sets a bad precedent for the season. It sets the wrong tone for the season when you can't build momentum out of Media Day. Why do you think Utah is doing so good? Why do you think some of these other Big 12 schools are doing so good? Well, it starts at Media Day. You have good Media Day. You're strong messaging. You feel good. You head right into week 0, week 1, and you get your first win, and then you're off and running. But that's not what this team's been able to do.
Well, and then there's Colorado. And this was I don't think any of us thought that Colorado, or at least none of us on this show, thought that Colorado was going to be, something of a world beater. I think we all were wondering, would they go to a bowl game, right? We've talked about 6 being the mark. And then you absolutely go to Nebraska, and you handled your business defensively. That's probably the most shocking part of this game, is that there's no question Colorado is better defensively. There's no question in anybody's mind. You scored 10 points, and you look at the numbers on offense for Colorado. You only had 15 first downs. You had 260 total yards. That offense that is capable of 500 yards a week only put up 260 yards of total offense. And again, and I'm not sure that he's going to survive Shedeur Sanders. But again, you have an offensive line who outside of Seton just isn't capable. And now Shedeur Sanders has taken heat because he said as much.
I mean, how many times did Rowley get touched?
You said what?
How many times did Rowley get touched? There was able, like, of course, whenever you're able to run the ball consistently and whenever you're able to, then that opens up the pass, But it's just like you got to understand, like, what your team good at. So it's like, why would we keep running the ball if, okay, we out there and we get in a situation where it's a must get and we don't get it?
Right. Are those kind of like 4th and 1 conversions that haven't gone your guys' way in the last couple of, is that kind of play into everybody's mind? Is that kind of something on your mind thinking about, advancing the ball and whatnot?
Nah, I'd rather, if we're going to go down, I'd rather go down swinging, honestly, because I know I could throw the best punch.
First of all, I don't think he threw his offensive line under the bus. I think he made a very good point. How many times did Dylan Raiola get sacked? None. How many times did Shedeur Sanders get sacked? 6. I mean, everybody ripping Shedeur Sanders this morning because he talked about how often he got hit. I have no problem with that. If we're in a program where we're talking about ultimate accountability, that's what ultimate accountability is. And he's not wrong. You look at the way that front at Nebraska dominated that offensive line.
Yeah.
And you start looking at the total offensive numbers, you're starting to get the idea that offensive line in Boulder is a huge problem.
Yeah, it's their biggest liability. It's the beginning and the end because, again, even last week, or 2 weeks ago, technically now, against North Dakota State, like you saw that when they were successful, he had 3.5, 4 seconds. And when they weren't successful, he had about 1.5 seconds. And that's really the difference in the game. And I'd also like to point out, when we talk about this game, everyone's like, oh, well, what do you mean the defense was good? They gave up 28, almost 30 points. Well, no, actually, the defense only gave up 21 points because he threw a pick 6 in that situation because once again, he was getting grilled in his end zone.
And he clearly heard footsteps on that throw out. I mean, that's just not a throw that Shedeur makes. And I don't know what to think about Colorado. Now, I do know that Nebraska's much better. And I know everybody that hopped on the Matt Rule is not going to turn it around quickly bandwagon. Again, maybe this should just be I told you so Monday.
Yeah.
Because I told you that Matt Rule was going to turn that thing around, and he did.
In Nebraska, Homer on Twitter over the weekend is like, well, if we can just be 8-0 leaving the shoe, we're going to be number 1 seed, and we're going to be in the college football playoff. You're going to have to show me a little more before I believe you can beat Ohio State. Like, we're not going to play both sides of the fence where you're going to crap on Colorado and then say this was a quality win for Nebraska. Nebraska's clearly better, but this is still Colorado. It's still embarrassment's probably strong, but not a good offensive line. And it's just this whole situation where people want to go both ways with it. My only critique of what people are saying about Colorado is you can't have it both ways with your team. You can't say that Colorado sucks and they're overhyped and they're terrible and Dion sucks as a coach, and then say that Matt Rule is going to go to the shoe and leave the shoe 8-0 and you guys are going to win a national championship. You don't get to do it both ways.
No, you don't. And I would also point out that Prime and the boys at Colorado got to go to Colorado Springs to take on Colorado State. And that's not the easiest. That is not the easiest. That is not the easiest way to go. Or excuse me, Fort Collins. And they are 7.5-point favorites. Colorado is 7.5 points on a 60-point number. So they're expecting a shootout. And then, speaking of teams that got exposed, what about Michigan? I'm here for it today, Michigan fan, because I think, that Texas team is the best Texas team in the country. I think Texas, is the best team in the country. And the way that offense executed, without your top 2 running backs, you made no excuses. And you physically dominated Michigan. In those drives in the first half, they were uncontested. Texas dominated Michigan, and I will continue to tell you this about Michigan. Much like Oak State, they lack talent in the skill positions, and they don't have heart. And you watch the way that Michigan played, and I agree, when you have a quarterback like Davis Warren, you're not going to compete. They cannot drive the football down the field. They cannot scare you. They're not going to, in any way, shape, or form, be an offensive juggernaut. But what was shocking is they stopped competing. They stopped competing at the end of the first half, which I thought was very interesting. And I am a little surprised that you're not better at the quarterback position. I am a little surprised by that. You are not. You don't have a starting quarterback at Michigan. Oh. And you look at Orji and you look at Warren and you look at the way that Texas dominated both of them. And Davis Warren, 22 of 33 for 204 yards on a 6.2 average, a touchdown and 2 picks. You ran for only 82 yards. I mean, it was a shocking offensive performance. And again, I'll ask, are we not seeing now the beginning of the lack of talent that Michigan's going to deal with for the next 5 to 7 seasons?
Yeah, and I think it's in the head coaching room too, because if you watch this game, you'll remember that they were basically playing a 2-man system at quarterback. They obviously, Warren was getting the lion's share of the snaps, but you would bring Orji in and what would happen? Well, the linebackers at Texas would know exactly where you were going with it, which was you were going to basically run like this little zone run, read play, and Texas wasn't having any of it. And the problem is you have no way to stretch the Texas defense because they're bigger, faster, and stronger than you are. And so you start looking at this game and it's like, dude, it's not really even all that competitive. Like Texas was not shook by the environment. Texas was just playing another game, and I'm pretty sure I can go back and dig through the show on Friday. I'm pretty sure we said this was just another game for Texas, that they had played big games, that Quinn Ewers was Quinn Ewers. And, there was a lot of experience there. You were ready to go. And I just think that Michigan this is just sort of a patchwork team right now. This is a guy as your head coach who's not prepared to be a head coach, in my opinion. You've got a roster full of dudes who are second cup players because you're not able to go out into the portal because of what's coming down the pipe from the NCAA. Like you're not that guy anymore because of what happened. And I feel bad for Michigan fan. I don't. Because you were fooled. And you guys are fools. You sat here last football season and said, "Oh, look at us. We won a national championship." And then when everyone said, "Hey, yeah, but what's going to happen when the NCAA comes for you?" You're like, "Oh, we don't care about that."
providing
Like,
cheeseburgers for starving children.
come on, dude. Come on.
What I will tell you is, again, the AP poll is a joke. Michigan was never a top 25 team in the country. They're not talented at the skill positions. And you are not going to be able to, with this offensive line on a regular basis, you are not going to be able to run for 100 yards a game. And if you are going to have Pop Warner quarterbacks, you better be able to run for 100 yards. And they're not going to be able to do it against their best talent that they see on their schedule. And I will again say these failings at Michigan mean that Ohio State has zero room for error, because I don't want excuses. I don't want to hear about ifs, ands, buts, and Connor Stallions. If you're not going to beat Michigan, go away. Go away.
Well, Texas showed you what it should be.
Because
that's the thing.
Because again, as I've said for I think 2 years now, Ryan Day shouldn't be the head coach at Ohio State, but he is, and he made the changes that you wanted him to make. So if you lose to Michigan this year, what's going to be the excuse?
Nothing. He'll be fired. I think he'll be fired.
I just don't want to hear it anymore. Like, this Michigan team lacks talent and is poorly coached. So now explain to me how there is any room for error for Ryan Day. And the answer is there's not.
Well, and I think the biggest thing, like, if you're following Ohio State country, you know, what we're hearing right now is like the players are saying, oh, the culture feels a little different this year. Like, you know, we're locked in. Like, this feels like a great year. Big things are coming. And I would agree. I mean, based on what we saw out of Michigan, based on what we haven't seen out of Oregon, based on, you know, the USC performance, like, those are all teams that can be had. And, you know, if you're Ohio State, you're just as talented as Texas. You've got the same talent, the same way that they do. You've got a great defense. You've got an experienced quarterback. You've got a phenomenal wide receiver core. Like, there's no reason why you shouldn't go out and run the table. Like, honestly, like, I know that seems outlandish, but that's what we're talking about with Ohio State. And again, when we look at the college football playoff, like, and you look at all these projections and, you know, bracketologies and, you know, what people are thinking the playoff is going to be, you know, it's very clear the formula now. You got to be able to run the football and physically impose your will. And then you got to be able to throw off of that. And if you can't run the football, Oklahoma State, Michigan, Oregon, you're not going to have success. You're not. And that, to me, is the theme coming out of this weekend.
I think if you are a Michigan fan, you're going to get the occasional explosive play. But I think when you look at the way that this game went, Texas did whatever they wanted. They got ahead in the game, as we talked about. And again, on I told you so Monday, because I am smart, I am intelligent, I am good looking, and damn it, I'm good enough. I don't know. If Michigan trails in a game, the game's over. There's just no way for them to get into a shootout, to come back and drive down the field. And if you're Texas, good God, how fast is Texas on both sides of the ball?
Incredibly.
I mean, my guy Jahdae Barron jumping on that fumble, should have had an interception. And you start looking at the way that Texas handles their business. It's Texas and Georgia and then everybody else.
And what's incredible, too, is that should actually be 38-12. That should have been the final score, because they get that. I think it was holding on that first drive. You know, you get a holding penalty that brings that touchdown back, and you wind up kicking the field goal, I believe it was, or you might have gone scoreless, actually. But anyway, it should have been 38, almost 40 points.
You missed the field goal, I think.
Yeah. So, like, I'm just telling you guys, like, you know, we're going to get all the, oh, well, everyone says Texas is back jokes, and like all these people are going to hate on Texas. But the reality is, like, they are faster. Like, the defense is fast enough to overcome mistakes.
Yeah.
Like, that's how quick they are, man.
Yeah. I thought Texas was phenomenal. I thought, boy, did they send a message that, yeah, we have injuries at the running back spot, but it doesn't matter. Quinn Ewers is a better quarterback than your guy is. And we're really fast. And Texas is going to be tough to beat. Who doesn't want to see Texas and Georgia go head to head?
Yeah.
because I do. I mean,
I want to see that physical matchup up front.
That's the game we need.
Yeah.
Because other than that, you look at the rest of the Big Ten. Obviously, I mean, Duke beating Northwestern was a shocking. Anyway, Ohio State putting up 56. Now, again, everybody's going to be like, Marty, it's only Western Michigan. It's directional Michigan. Hey, man, it's still a team that has Michigan in their name.
Right.
And
Central, Western, Eastern.
Sign stealer guy.
Yeah, man. Will Howard, 18 of 26. Quinshawn Judkins for 108 yards. They ran for 273 yards.
Look at how many yards is Will Howard averaging in an attempt in this game?
11.2.
So do you see the difference between, and I get, it's, Western, Eastern, Southern Michigan. I get it. But 11.2 yards an attempt is a big time number versus 6, or what did Riley Leonard have? Like 5.9 or something?
2.1.
Not like nothing, again, Bowman, I'm just telling you, man, if your quarterback is not around the 10 yards attempt number, there's a problem.
And then we have to ask what is turning into, I feel like a weekly question on this show. What is wrong with Dan Lanning in Oregon?
Bo Nix is playing well.
But that's a really interesting drop you play there. So you go from Bo Nix to Dylan Gabriel, and Dylan Gabriel hasn't been bad.
No.
What is wrong with Oregon? The answer is I have no idea. I have no idea what's wrong with Oregon. It's weird. They go into these stretches where they can't operate, and you're allowing a team. And Boise's good. Please, Smurf Turf, bro, don't come in here and get all upset. I'm not saying that Boise sucks or okay.
We get it. Stadium renovations, upper deck. We get it.
It's Oregon, and you're wildly talented, and you only run 110 yards against Boise, and you have 243 yards passing, and you can't break 400 yards of offense on a G5 team. And more than that, I don't know how to break it to you that Boise put up 370 yards of offense on Oregon and got out first down them, 19 first downs for Nebraska State, 9 of 19 on third down. And you're talking about a team that was 17 of 40 passing, and they almost beat you on a 17 of 40 passing day. And you needed a field goal to beat them.
Yeah.
What is wrong with Oregon? And the answer is, I don't know. Because it's not Dylan Gabriel's fault. And I know that everybody in Eugene wants to point at Dylan Gabriel for whatever reason. Dylan Gabriel's not what's wrong with you. What's wrong with you is you gave up 34 points to Boise State.
Well, and the biggest thing is, and I would agree, this isn't as much of an offensive issue as it is a defensive issue. And it's not as much of a defensive issue as it is the DNA of your team needs to get figured out real quick. Because what I look at in the box score is you gave up. You got your ass beat going to the half and at the end of the game. You gave up 17 in the second quarter and 14 in the fourth quarter, which tells me that when the game gets tight, when it's a big moment, when you know you need to make a play, this team hasn't figured out that moment yet. And you look at the consistency in scoring, you're fine. 7, 13, and 10. That's fine production. Would you like to see against Boise State? Would you love to see 10 points a quarter? Yeah, of course. Of course.
You were 18 and a half points coming into that game.
And the more troubling thing is I wouldn't even be complaining if this was at Boise State, but it wasn't. This is
I
Austin,
wouldn't be
bro.
complaining if Austin Jeanty didn't run for 192 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Are you out of your mind?
So when I think about the Big Ten and I think about what took place this weekend, is it shocking to say that it's Ohio State and SC right now? because I'm not real confident in what we're seeing from Oregon. I'm certainly, obviously, not buying Michigan.
And I'm being honest, if the targeting play doesn't happen for and I don't know if you saw it, but one of the Boise safeties got ejected for targeting, and then Oregon threw a bomb to score a touchdown right after that. If that targeting play doesn't happen, does Boise win the game?
Hell no.
No, I think they do.
Yeah, they probably do.
I think they probably do.
Yeah.
That's how close this was for Oregon. And I think it is when we ask the question about who got exposed in week 2.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's the first 2 weeks of the season that Oregon got exposed in, right? Because you're starting to see these patterns form. Because I'll remind you what happened what happened to USC against Utah State. They beat the hell out of Utah State.
Mm-hmm.
They did what they were supposed to do against a G5. And I'm a little surprised that Dan Lanning does not have his boys more ready to play.
Yeah, I just don't feel like Oregon is. I mean, they're physical, but they're just not as mean as they were last year.
They're not good up front.
Yeah,
they're not. They haven't been good up front.
Yeah, it's just different this year, and I don't know if that's I don't quite know why that is. Because Dan Lanning didn't just forget how to coach physicality, coach toughness, coach the desire to beat a team up. You know what I mean? That doesn't. You just don't. It's not like that just leaves.
But see, Oregon. Here's the difference between Michigan and Oregon, right? Michigan, there were a lot of snaps where Michigan was like, all right, you guys go ahead. Oregon competed on every snap. I watched a good part of that game I was at this massive Indian wedding.
Yeah.
I watched a good part of that Oregon game. And I would just like to say, if you don't have YouTube TV, you're not very smart, because watching the multi-view, watching the game on my phone was easy peasy.
Mm-hmm.
But Oregon was actually competing, playing hard, fighting for their lives. And they just could not stop the run.
Well, I mean, when you can't lose to Boise State if you're Oregon, and you have playoff hopes, obviously. So yeah, you're damn right they were fighting for their lives. I mean, I would hope that they were, that they had that kind of urgency. And that maybe is the craziest thing about Michigan. Because I agree with what you said, not to get off track, but Texas broke Michigan before the half.
Yeah, they did.
That's
exactly the right way to say that.
Texas broke them.
Yes.
And Dan Lanning deserves credit. His boys fought. And I don't know, man. I just felt like this week in college football, we haven't even gotten to the Texas Tech situation or BYU or a couple of these other games. But, man, there were some games out here this week where I was like, damn, dude, your football team just isn't here for it this week.
Kansas, Illinois. How about Kansas? And I warned you again. Monty told you on Monday.
Told you so Monday.
I warned you about going to Champaign if you were Kansas. And your season's over. Because you're not – I warned you about Avery Johnson. And
we got to have a conversation about
we
Avery
can
Johnson,
we can sit here and we can pretend and we can nod our heads and it'll be fine. Everything in Manhattan is fine.
No.
It's not fine. It's Avery Johnson, 15 of 23, 181. Oh, but Monty, he's a dual threat, and he makes up for it on the ground, Morty.
Where's all the hate?
8 carries,
Johnson.
8 carries, 40 yards. And you barely beat Tulane, which, again, Morty told you. Here on the Monty Show, I warned you about one of the best G5 teams in the country is Tulane.
What did we say when USC and Caleb Williams lost to Tulane in the bowl game? What did everyone say? Oh, well, that's just a terrible loss, and Lincoln's garbage, and USC sucks, and Caleb Williams paints his nails and cries on his mom's tits, and he's terrible.
Cries.
And then what are we saying here? What are we saying here? Oh, well, it's Tulane. Avery's, he just had a bad week. No, I don't want any excuses on Avery Johnson. What did everyone on Friday say? Oh, dual threat quarterback, big arm, he's going to tear them up.
He makes up for it. Don't worry about it.
He doesn't. And again, the Big 12, I'm telling you, is not in a good place right now. You're done at Kansas. K-State's nothing special. Tech season's over. It's Utah and everybody else.
And the other thing that I'm waiting for is is this DJ Giddens, Dylan Edwards combo to get going. And it hasn't. And DJ Giddens is clearly the best running back there as he's been. Avery Johnson, I have a lot of fear for K-State and Avery Johnson because I don't believe, and we're going to find out this weekend because they're going to get into a shootout with Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
What is that? Friday night, I think. They're going to get into a shootout with Arizona. And you don't want to be in a shootout with the Fighting Fafitas.
With Avery Johnson as your quarterback.
And we'll find out. Maybe it's game plan based and the schematics were different against Tulane. And okay, I'm here for that. Don't show up here a week from today and when he's average. And if they lose to Arizona, don't show up here today, being all, well, we're going to beat Arizona. And then when you lose to Arizona, because if that game was in Tucson, I'd be picking Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
But it's at, what is it? Bill Snyder Family Field, which I still think is one of the best names in college football. And you're only a 7-point home favorite against the Fighting Fafitas. So,
telling you, dude, that team is good enough. Dude, Noah Fafita is good enough to outthrow your defense at your place to win a ball game. And I'm telling you, that's got 35-28 Arizona written all over it. And that's not going to be a good day for you.
We'll see how all this plays out. And we'll see how K-State does. If you're not worried about Avery Johnson at this point, I'm not really sure what you're looking at. Because again, I always believe, whether it's who's the best quarterback in the Big 12, Shedeur Sanders or Cam Rising, who we're going to talk about in a second. At some point, they're going to have to stand in the pocket and deliver the football to win you a game. Can Avery Johnson do that? The answer is he can't. Or at least to this point, he hasn't shown you that he can. Can Quinn Ewers do that? Can Carson Beck do that? Can Miller Moss do that? Can Will Howard do that? Because you guys wanted to, you ran Will Howard's ass out of town, you say. Right? Jalen Milroe, who did it again this weekend. They all can do that. The Cam Ward at Miami, who's ranked 10th in the country now, when Washington State said he's got to go, and they're 10th in the country.
DJU.
I'm just telling you that Avery Johnson worries me.
And I agree with what you've always said about quarterbacks, man. And I think this week was very emblematic of it. You either have it or you don't.
And you know it.
Yeah.
You see it.
Yeah.
You see it.
Yeah. Come on.
Like, you look at that situation at Utah. An absolute disgusting cheap shot on Cam Rising. And now, apparently, he avoided a broken bones in his hand. Because, thankfully, when we look at the situation with Cam Rising, it appears, according to reports, that Cam has avoided major injury.
I want to make something real clear for the asshole BYU fans on Twitter arguing with my guy over here about this situation. Cam Rising gets cheap shotted, leaves the game. They tape his finger. He's chilling on the sideline. And you know why he was chilling on the sideline? Because Utah knows that their defense is good enough to stop a Baylor team. And by the way, put on an absolute positive burn the clock by running the football clinic with about 5:50 left in that game in the fourth quarter. So if this was like a college football playoff game, if this was a game that mattered at all, that was in question at all, he'd have been right back in there. And so I just don't understand why people are like, oh, well, he's always hurt. No, he had one major knee injury and he didn't have to come back into this game.
And that was a cheap shot out of Baylor.
Yeah.
And
Clearly.
it completely changed the game. And this Utah team is legit. Okay, this defense is legit. Mekhi Bernard running the ball that way. I thought the offensive line was much better. I actually felt bad for DeQuan Finn because I think that's one of the most difficult quarterback days that I've seen at Rice-Eccles in some time.
I mean, they punished Baylor, man. I mean, they absolutely proved a point. And if you didn't watch this game, I would encourage you to find the highlights on YouTube because you're going to see something similar to this as we progress through the season. You're going to see they're going to beat teams by doing this. And I thought it was incredibly impressive. I did.
Yeah, I think the way that they were able to run the ball. Now, I'm a little worried. Isaac Wilson's got a lot of development to accomplish. And with Cam Rising, a guy who I don't disagree that he's had a lot of injuries, but he's a physical runner. And again, not just BYU fans, but everybody who was saying he doesn't run anymore, that was proven wrong against Baylor. Because I thought Cam Rising, the 2 runs he did have, the one big run, he looks great. And then if you didn't see the play, he's going to the sideline. He throws a ball away, and the Baylor defender pushes him into the Gatorade table on the Baylor sideline. And Cam apparently avoided breaking a finger on his throwing hand. Apparently. But I think it's, again, a thing where Utah has been notoriously quiet about injuries. But in the video we showed you, you heard a fan yell, "Cam, put a thumb up if you're okay." And he put a thumb up. Because this team's only going the way Cam is. And I will just continue to say, and I know BYU fans get all pissed off when I say it, Cam Rising, if this team has a healthy Cam Rising, they are capable of winning the Big 12 and going to the college football playoff. They are, with Cam Rising, Utah's the best team in this conference, and it ain't close.
Agreed.
There's nothing to talk about. That defense is spectacular. Cam Rising is 37th season. He is an elite quarterback. And I think when you look at this Utah team, if he's healthy, they're winning the Big 12. Facts. And in 2 weeks in Stillwater, we're going to get a real close look at how good Utah is. Because regardless of what happened this weekend, and I know it was 3 seconds and the refs screwed Oak State. They didn't.
Come on, guy.
Going to Stillwater is not an easy proposition. If Cam Rising's healthy, I think you're in good shape. I think you are as good as you could possibly want to be. I think Cam Rising's an elite player. And I'd also point out on I told you so Monday, Money Parks is a problem.
Stud.
Money Parks is a problem. I would like to see more from Dorian Singer and Brant Keithy. They were running the ball to control the clock, which is why you did not.
And I think that, Andy Ludwig has always been very consistent with the way he goes about the offense and, calls the game. And you can clearly see, hey, we are going to pound the rock to end this game.
Yeah.
And that's, I know it's Baylor and I know it's like, hey, like they're not great. We don't expect amazing things, but anytime a football team can say, hey, we're not going to bring our starter back, even though he could probably play, and we're just going to let Isaac Wilson finish this game. And we can do that because we're so good at running the football and we're so willing to just beat the hell out of your defensive line. That's impressive to me. That willingness to do that. We don't see that a lot in college football anymore. We don't see teams able to just say, all right, here you go, run it for 4 yards and we're going to just run right down the field. You don't really see that anymore. And the energy that Utah brings, I think, is really what separates them. It's what we alluded to with the Oklahoma State thing. Like, it wasn't just what Gundy said after the game. It's that you're watching them struggle to basically close and finish Arkansas. And there wasn't a lot of want to. I didn't really feel like you had that fire, that mentality of like, hey, we're Oklahoma State. I'm Ollie Gordon. I'm going to drop you, right? Like, I'm going to run you over. I'm going to, physically impose my will. And I did see that from Utah. And I think that is what separates them. I can easily say to myself and see Utah going to Stillwater, going here, going there, and being able to beat you, because I don't care what field you're playing on, they can run the football. And if you can run the football, you can beat anyone anywhere. And that, to me, is what separates Utah from everyone else in the Big 12.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that on the other end of the Utah spectrum is BYU, and as concerned as Utah should be about Cam Rising, what's the level of concern with Jake Retzloff and BYU? And I would tell you, I'm not at all concerned about Jake Retzloff and BYU, because I feel like Jake, did he play well? No, he did not. Jake Retzloff did not have a good game. I think the deep ball that he missed, that we have seen him routinely make through camp last season, early in this season, that's a ball he generally completes. So do I have a level of concern because of the way Jake Retzloff played against SMU? I do not. I will stand on business with Jake Retzloff and tell you I believe in the guy. I think he's the right guy. I think when you look at the way he led this team down the field, marched down the field on that last drive, that read option pitch that he made to seal this game to Miles Davis is exactly why Jake Retzloff's the starting quarterback at BYU. His running ability, I think, makes him an absolute threat, and he is a better thrower of the football than I think most of us believed. Now, were the interceptions what you wanted to see? They weren't. The one was complete disguise. I don't blame that screen pass over the middle that got picked off. I don't blame necessarily Jake for that. I thought that was good defensive disguise. But I also don't like some of the decisions he made. But those decisions, he can clean those up. But here's my biggest question. What's of bigger concern if you're a BYU football fan? Jake Retzloff's performance or Aaron Roderick's play calling? Because in my opinion, if you are not going to allow Jake Retzloff to command this offense, put in Gary Bohannon. Because if you are going to put a leash on Jake Retzloff, you are not doing him or this offense any service at all. And amongst the other issues, LJ Martin, who I have espoused and I have told you repeatedly on this show, LJ Martin is the most important offensive player that BYU has, and he's hurt again. And it is a huge problem because you've never been able to consistently add LJ Martin to your offense. And when he's been out there in a limited role, he's been awesome. But what good are you? Your best ability is your availability. And LJ Martin's not been available to this offense for most of his time at BYU. And it's a huge problem because this offense is dynamic when he's in the backfield, and it's not when he's not. And we are now going to see about the depth of this roster, because with Rapati hurt as well, and I don't know that we're going to have any idea about those two and their ability until we get to the weekend. But what I will tell you is Jake Retzloff is not the problem for BYU's offense. My belief is Aaron Roderick's got to do a significantly better job opening up the playbook and allowing Jake Retzloff to make plays with both his arm and his legs. And if you are not going to allow him to do that, you're going to lose games. You are not going to be bowl eligible, because one of the things that I think is a real hallmark of a good football team, and let's not pull punches on BYU. Are they an elite football team? Not by anybody's imagination, not by anybody's description, but they are a good football team that can win any game they play. And when you look at the hallmark of a good football team, when you are in position to lose a game and you pull victory from the jaws of defeat, because that's exactly what BYU did here. They played terrible football offensively, but boy, did they get plays on defense. Boy, did they end Preston Stone's career at SMU. Boy, did they make a statement that they compete and they play hard defensively. And when the offense is struggling, the defense is now capable and able of picking up that offense and giving them the ball back and giving Jake Retzloff the opportunity to command that drive where he made a big throw. And then that read option pitch was a thing of beauty. BYU is going to be a problem in this league, and they're going to compete in every game that they play. And I think they're going to win more than they lose.
Absolutely. And I think that, the play calling thing is a really interesting conversation because, when I saw that interception that Jake threw over the middle there, where he's got a lineman at his feet, he's got another guy standing in front of him. Like it's not like this interception where it's just like egregiously bad. That's not what
It's
that
not
was,
the pick
but-
six
Yeah,
last year.
exactly. Right. It's not like one of those, but what I felt about that interception is kind of things you're alluding to. I felt like the play calling up into that point had kind of put Jake in a position mentally where I'm watching him play this game. And I felt like, based on what I was seeing out of him, that maybe he felt like he needed to make plays like, hey, I'm finally getting an opportunity to throw the football. I got to make something happen here. And I felt like in the SMU game, it led to him holding the ball a little bit longer than typically he does. He was trying to pull something out of that.
Well, and that offensive line.
Yeah. And so I think that the play calling combined with how the game was going is why Jake probably decided to throw that football.
I would agree with that.
And that's not an excuse, right? I'm not saying that makes the turnover better. I'm not saying that he played great. But what I am saying is when you're playing quarterback, you're on the road and you're clearly not clicking on all cylinders, if you will. You're not having a great game offensively. You're going to try to make some things happen. And that's why I say it could be potentially a blessing in disguise that Rapati and Martin are a little bit injured and banged up, because that's going to force you to be better in your passing game.
But I also thought we got a pleasant surprise in Enoch Nawahina.
Mhm.
I think Nawahine, excuse me. I think he's a guy that showed he's capable. And I also think it's a tip of the cap to the depth that they've built in that running back room, because obviously the wide receivers are elite. And Darius Laster did not have his best game. And I know I'm going to say something that you guys are probably going to find A, sensational, and B, offensive. Wide receivers are supposed to catch passes. I know, Uncle Marty.
Marty,
Come on, Marty. Let's not say that's a clickbait statement. Wide receivers are supposed to catch passes. BYU's got this unbelievable wide receiver room who too often drops passes, whether that is Darius Lassiter, Cody Epps, Chase Roberts. I mean, you pick the guy. You can't drop those passes because Jake Retzloff, in a game where you are struggling to be your best, Jake Retzloff is putting it in the hands of his wide receivers and they're not catching the football. And that doesn't help either. Now, having said all that, you got to go to Laramie this weekend. And if BYU is going to be tested, it's going to be in Laramie, because I think that's one of the toughest places to go and play. Now, obviously, the altitude is part of the reason it's tough. BYU doesn't have to worry about that.
Right.
BYU prepares at altitude already. And I do think that we are going to see one of the greatest bounce backs of all time. And if this team is going to go to a bowl, this is a game you have to win.
Have to.
If you're gonna win 6 games, and I think 6 should be the low, 8 should be the high. If this team is going to go to a bowl, they've got to win this weekend in Laramie.
Well, and I think, if you can beat Wyoming, you're 3-0 starting Big 12 play. And to me, that's kind of an insurance policy, because I look at your schedule. Let's see what K-State does this coming week. Let's see, do they take some steps forward? Do they take some steps back? Like, let's see where they finish out before they see BYU. But K-State at home feels kind of winnable. It feels like there's an opportunity there.
It does.
Baylor, to me, I think Baylor's going to out-physical you, but you may have some opportunities in that game. Let's call that a loss. And then you don't really have another winnable opportunity, in my opinion, until you get to Houston at the end of the season.
Kansas, that was a shocking loss.
Yeah.
By the Jayhawks.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you explain that. Arizona State's going to fight. And I think they're going to be very difficult, especially at home. Kenny's got the Devils playing hard football. Boy, it was hot in Arizona this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Did you guys see Los Angeles? Is it like 100 degrees?
103 at the Dodger game yesterday.
God, damn. I think you're right. I think you've got to beat K-State on the 21st. I think that's a huge game, and then you've got to win at Baylor. And I think you're going to win at Baylor.
By the way,
and I think there's a legitimate chance for you to start 5-0 and solidify your bowl spot.
I just want to point out that At some point, if you're a defense playing against Arizona State, you might want to stop putting 3 down linemen against that rushing attack.
But this is my gripe with flipping Joey Maguire at Texas. Okay. And I probably waited too long to rip Joey Maguire.
This ripping of Joey Maguire is brought to you by Prize Picks. I just want everyone to know that, okay? You guys ready for this?
Let me single up here.
Yeah.
Joey. Bud,
you and Marty.
Joey?
Marty.
If you drop 8 on defense again, I'm going to come down there and pack your shit for you personally. Stop dropping 8. Stop dropping 8. Stop dropping. I don't know how to break this to you in Lubbock. Stop dropping 8 on defense. Stop it. You lost. Now there's no, well, Marty, they had 19 guys from our old roster and we were all buddies. It's
fucking donkey.
What's the excuse this week? Where are all the tortillas we're supposed to be throwing all over the place? Pew pew? No, not so much. No ammunition. Well, Taj Brooks didn't play. Okay, great. You have no depth? You have no depth. You got another, I think, a solid performance out of Baron Morton.
Mm-hmm.
This defense is atrocious. And I will continue to sit here, and I know everybody's going to send me DMs. I'm a booster. He's not going anywhere. If you don't want to fire Joey Maguire this morning,
you're the problem.
Yeah, sell your tickets. Please stop supporting Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Because if you watched that thing, how can you be happy that this team continues to drop 8 on defense and get torched doing it?
When is the last time you heard rush 3, drop 8 for a successful defense? Like, that's not how it works.
How much BYU game tape from the last 5 years
Seriously,
have you watched?
Like, Joey, quick question for you, dude. How hard is it to run a base 4-3 defense in college football? How hard is it? How hard is it?
Okay. I'll give you 5 seconds to answer the question. Who in the world is John Mateer? Yeah, you're a car salesman down at the Hyundai dealership. Exactly right.
Who the fuck is that guy?
No, he's the starting quarterback at Washington State, and he ran for 200 yards. And I would remind you, 21 carries, 197 yards. That's a 9.4 yard average per carry.
You know.
He only threw for 115 yards.
Wait, but I thought you said dude's name was John Mateer.
And they ran all, you dropped it. Now, again,
Stay hard.
I'm going to say something sensational.
Dude.
And this is a shocking statement. If they're beating your ass at the line of scrimmage and running for 300 yards, you might want to not drop 8, you prick.
Hold on, bro. Like,
this was one of the most frustrating performances I've ever seen as a football fan.
How many total rushing yards did they have in that game?
301.
Not passing, not throwing, rushing. Like, turn around, hand it off, rushing. Dude.
It's Washington State. The Pac-2.
It's embarrassing. There's no other way around it.
They average 6.4 yards per carry.
If you're a Tech fan, I'm sorry. Like, the Fire Joey campaign needs to begin right now.
I am shocked that there are still people wanting to defend Joey Maguire.
And hell, at least in Stillwater, you're winning 9 games a year.
I am stunned about that. I'm stunned by it. I am more like, if there were some performances this weekend that we could be like, okay, Oregon, Oklahoma, of the dominance of the SEC, and they were dominant. Somebody might want to turn on the ignition in Norman, because you hung on to beat Houston. There were no more shocking performances than good old drop 8 in Lubbock.
By the way, would like to add to the I told you so list from Friday. all of you donkeys who said that Tennessee wasn't a blue blood, how did that work out for you? How did that work out for you, boss?
Well, they beat NC State, so I'm not going to crown them. But yeah, they scored 51 points on North Carolina State. Tennessee's pretty good. I told Missouri's pretty good. Ole Miss.
Dude.
Come on, man. Jackson Dart for 377 again. He's got almost 1,000 yards.
Already.
My guy, Jalen Milroe, cheated. Michigan. Interesting. All right, enough of us, more of you. Real quick, the official golf club of the Monty Show is Canyons Golf Park City. Ooh, speaking of, I'm glad I thought of it. I am playing golf at Rice-Eccles Stadium this weekend. Totally excited for that. They set up a golf course on the field, and you get to hit golf shots from the concourse at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Excited. Looking forward to that. Saturday night, I will be there playing golf. But that's after I play 18 at Canyons Golf Park City Mountain Resort. Canyons Village is where you find Canyons Golf. They had a great season up there. It's not over yet. There is 6 weeks to go in the season. They're officially slated to end their golf season October 13th. Let's go. And I really appreciate John, who DM'd me on Instagram this weekend and said, Hey, Morty. He said, thanks for the tip on Canyons Golf, and told me how he apparently tried to hit 5 drives off of the 6th tee box, which is an elevated tee box. He tried to hit 5 drives, did not find any of them. And the 6th tee box at Canyons Golf is amazing. You're hundreds of feet up in the air, and the green is down. It's about a 200, I think it's probably only 280, 300 to drive it, but you've got to be accurate with it. And it's one of the most spectacular tee boxes in all of Utah. And that's not even the 17th or the 18th holes, which also have elevated, beautiful tee boxes. There's lush fairways, challenging greens that are multi-tiered. It's just fun golf. And if you've never played mountain golf, get up to Canyons Golf in Park City. Join me Saturday morning. I'll be there. I love it. The ball flies up at altitude. And it's just fun golf. And the best part about it is you're in the mountains with deer. Saw a bunch of deer this weekend. You see elk, you see deer, you see the occasional bear, moose. Absolutely. It is just gorgeous up at Park City Mountain Resort. And you're in a world-class resort is what I would remind you. Park City Mountain, Canyons Village, the best dining experiences, I think, in Utah. When we talk about how the food scene in Utah, some of the best, the creme de la creme at the Pendry building, in the bottom of the Pendry building in Canyons Village, there is a wonderful Mexican joint. Love it. Everything you want. Canyons Golf, Park City Mountain, Canyons Village is where you find them. Tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show. Book online. Just Google search Canyons Golf Park City. Book online. Tell me when you're going to be there. Let's play some golf together this weekend up at Canyons. But yes, I am super excited to be playing golf at Rice-Eccles Stadium this weekend.
So what do you think? Is it going to be mostly pitching wedge, you think?
No, there's apparently some 175, 200-yard shots that you're able to hit. But it's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. You can bring your club, so I'll have the PXG there. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So I've always wanted to do it. I wanted to do it at Fenway Park. What this company does is they travel the country and they set up golf shots inside of stadiums. And I'm really excited about it. Really, really excited about it.
And by the way, last thing on Canyons, we're getting into that part of the year where it starts to get nice and crispy in the morning.
Yes.
So, you're talking about, you're rocking your polo, you got your quarter zip, you're real nice. It's like chilly, but not too cold. It's best time of the year up there, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I think that it is going to be awesome. Fall golf in Utah is amazing. Now,
sensational.
If I could hit my irons, that certainly would help. I had one of those rounds of golf yesterday where I melted down on the last 4 holes. Still shot a 79, which I was pretty happy with. But, like the first 13 holes, you're just banging the ball and
Just cruising,
driving well, hitting the greens on your par 3s. And you get to those last 4 holes. I got to this. There's a par 3, and then there's a long par 4 drive. And as soon as I hit that drive, I was like, there's this one hole where I just can't do anything but push it right. I don't know why, because I don't generally hit high fades or slices. My miss is generally left. This hole, all I do is push it right. It's like a mental thing with me. And then I couldn't get my driver back. I did hit driver off the deck yesterday. I can't remember. Somebody on Twitter was taunting me about it and telling me I needed to hit driver off the deck. I finally did yesterday.
not too bad.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
Not too bad. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a golf fanatic. Really looking forward to it. All right, let's get your comments here on the Monty Show. The eye patch says, nice win for Wazoo. I recently became a Texas Tech hater, and watching them get their butts whooped, priceless. How can you hate Texas Tech? Well, because they play BYU's
I mean, at least
drop
the
8
guy's
defense.
honest about it.
True. Yeah. Mike Smith, Oklahoma fans got to be sweating, dude. That was close. Like that was. If you don't against Houston, which is the thing that you're like, Houston's not good.
No.
Not right now. They will be under Willie, but right now they're not. I agree with that. Oak State and K-State won. Colorado and Kansas did not. Ugly wins are still wins.
Here we
Let's
go.
not beat around the bush with Oak State. You didn't deserve to win that game. You won that game not because you worked hard or you outplayed them, or you won that game because they fumbled punts. Arkansas is just not good. Like you want to talk about a guy that needs to get whacked. Like they just make so many stupid mistakes.
How many extra possessions in that game, bro?
4 or 5 for Oak State.
At least.
4 or 5 for Oak State, without question. I mean, the muff punt alone changed the complexion of that game. Just the inability to have, I mean, Jaquindon Jackson was dominating. And then guess what? Had to go get an IV. Like, it's not week 1 anymore, guy. You're going into that's their second game. You're needing IVs. Again, Oak State is not a well-coached football team. And if you're a fan of the Pokes, you need to start wrapping your head around that. We are watching end times of Mike Gundy, or at least we better be. Because if he's going to continue to be your head coach, you're not going to win this conference. Because this conference, I got news for you. As much as you old heads hate the Pac-12 members that came in, they're the best teams in the conference.
Yeah.
Because you're starting to see, and I think Arizona is going to come back to earth a little bit, but you're starting to see why Utah is so well thought of. You're starting to see there's a separation of classes in this league.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Arizona State, I don't know what Colorado is going to be. Without an offensive line, you can't really compete in this league because there are some defensive fronts that'll just eat you alive. But I don't like, who's the second best team in the Big 12 right now?
I mean, right here today?
I don't know.
Arizona.
It's probably Arizona.
Yeah.
I don't know. If you look at right now today, probably Iowa State is who I would take. I mean, that is a ballsy win over Iowa.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a really nice win. Again, bless up.
Old Marty show.
I told you, Iowa State. I loved Iowa State in that game. I got really lucky with that one, but Iowa State is good a rivalry as we see, and I just don't know why Kirk Ferentz is still the head coach at Iowa. And I think you look at a football team. This is what I say about Eber sucks with the Bears.
Right.
What don't you have? Because on bad football teams, you don't have an obvious. You don't have a quarterback at Iowa. I mean, you could go up and down. Deion doesn't have an offensive line. Arguably the best quarterback in the country doesn't have an offensive line. Doesn't matter.
Yep.
Because that quarterback is muted, right? The Fighting Fafitas don't have a defense, and it's going to ultimately kill them. Arizona State doesn't have a lot. You look at BYU, they're probably not. They're probably not good enough defensively.
Mm-hmm.
You can go up and down, and I don't understand how Kirk Ferentz doesn't have a quarterback or an offense at Iowa. I will not understand it, but I think you're starting to see why now Iowa State's in the top 25, deservedly so. Because I think they may well today and going into week 3, they might be the second best team in this league. And I understand that we're very early on, and we probably have not seen the best out of UCF yet.
Yeah, but that's the problem.
UCF. Have you guys looked at their points for and against? Anybody look at their points for and against? Now it's Sam Houston in New Hampshire. Who are you, an election state? But you don't accidentally score 102 points and give up 17. I said they've scored 102 and given up 17.
Yeah.
Some of that's the competition. They're good offensively. They're good offensive. I really like what Spike Dykes' kid has done at TCU. I like it a lot. I think TCU's better than people. And nobody's talking about TCU, not in the top 25. But this league, I don't know who the second best team in the league is right now. I don't have a great feeling for it. I don't have a great feeling for it. All right, let's see. Oak State James for $5. Oak State needs to throw to the tight ends, but you have these world-class best wide receivers anybody's ever seen ever. James, from the guy who espoused about the awesomeness and just the lethality and the absolute unbelievable skill set at the wide receiver. And Alan Bowman, I mean, who are you? Brandon Whedon?
That was a masterpiece of dog shit.
When is Oak State fan gonna finally acquiesce and tell Uncle Marty he's right? Because
Never.
I've gotten so many Oak State. Why do you hate Oklahoma State? I don't respect Mike Gundy. And this year it's gotten even all the BS about Oklahoma and okay, fine. The Ollie Gordon situation, and now look at how he's acting on the field like a petulant child.
Yep.
Ollie Gordon. Trying to get
Why is that?
You're trying to get in fights with guys, and you're throwing yourself on the ground trying to get them the refs to throw a flag. Like, this team is undisciplined. They're not well coached. Schematically, they're very average. And you don't have a quarterback. You do not have a quarterback. And at what point is Oak State fan going to come around and say, yeah, you know what? We have a coaching problem. At what point? Because if Ollie Gordon doesn't get the train rolling, and if Ollie Gordon doesn't have a 1,000-yard season, and if he's not in New York for the Heisman ceremony, he's probably coming back for another year in somebody else's uniform. Oh, but Marty, they threw a bag of money at him. No, the problem is that Oak State is not a place where you go to win Heisman trophies.
Yep.
When are you going to come around to the fact that Mike Gundy's a problem for you? Oh, he's a legend, Monty. Okay, great. Congratulations on all those regular season titles you haven't won.
Okay is a hell of a drug.
Come on. If the tight ends are a threat, the linebackers have to cover them. The tight ends should be your third option.
Okay.
I don't know how to break this to you. Get your one option and your two option going before we start talking about who your third option is.
How about you have a option?
How about you run the football to the level that you're supposed to be running the football so that Alan Bowman doesn't have to try and win you games? Because he's not a guy that's going to win you games.
Against Arkansas.
He's not a guy that's going to win you games. Calford donates 10 Monty Show memberships.
Appreciate you, bro.
Anybody see Cal over the weekend? Anybody want to talk about the Pac-2? Did they have a good weekend? Washington State, obviously we already know, beat Drop 8. That's Joey McGuire's new nickname.
Drop 8. So let me get this right. We've got 8 ball and we have Drop 8.
Now we do. Did anybody see the Cal game? The California Golden Bears? How about you went to Auburn and won?
Don't you know who I am?
The goddamn Pac-12 teams. So let me get this right. The Pac-2 went undefeated this weekend. I should probably not. They went to Auburn. Cal went to Auburn and won.
Crazy.
I'm just saying. Jimmy Otson, a member of the program for 15 months.
Nice, Jimmy. Nice, dude.
Give Ashton Jeanty the Heisman right now, bro. How are there? I mean, pretty clearly right now, they should be one of the favorites to be in the college football playoff, right? I mean, I would think that they should be one of the favorites, because I think this right here from Andy Staples at On 3 is pretty accurate. Right? I don't think that right now, I don't have any idea why you would have Oklahoma State as one of the first 4 out. I don't know what you're looking at. And I like that he's got NIU as a G5 contender.
Monty, dude, just an incredible victory.
That you made $1.4 million off of Marcus Freeman for.
Yeah.
Well, I wish Marcus would drop 8. Then we could have a real reason. I love that UNLV is there. I think UNLV is very deserving. I think Texas is arguably the best team in the country. And I agree with the top 4 there. I mean, does anybody doubt those 4 teams are going to win the conference if it was held today? I don't. I think Missouri, Tennessee, and I know Tennessee's not a blue blood.
Couldn't have gone any better for you.
Texas and UNLV, Ole Miss. How about Lane Train and that hot girlfriend?
Yeah.
Known as Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
How about Penn State? Somebody should tell Pedo State. Ooh. USC. Like, this is a good weekend of college football, friends.
Mm-hmm.
This was a good weekend of college
and
football.
what was supposed to be kind of a dud of a weekend, by the way.
Tanner Plumer. Former BYU DC Elisa Tuiaki is the original Drop 8 man. He is.
Yeah, well, the problem is he's not in football right now, so, you know.
Yeah, I agree. Midweek Coug. Former Pac is 21-2 and 3-0 against the SEC. It's not bad.
Not bad.
It's not bad.
Again, the Pac didn't dissolve because the football sucked. They dissolved because they couldn't keep their P&L in order.
Gundy did get guys from the portal. He whines about it and then gets players from the portal.
Here we go.
And what does that mean? Mike Gundy is the problem at Oak State. You understand that, right? Do you think what he did about the officials postgame? And I'm happy to play it again. Do you think that this little presentation here, do you think this little presentation, do you think this is helping Oak State? Do you think this helps Oklahoma State?
Steve Shaw is the head of the officiating. He needs to fix it. He needs to get them all in one room and everybody has the same rule. They messed something up. I'm not sure what they messed up. I don't really care. But all I know is they gave us a 3-second play on a 9-yard run. And that's where I had an issue with it. They said when the ball was blown dead after the play at 3 seconds after the snap. There's no way. I mean, maybe it was. I've been wrong before, but I'm going to guess it was a 6-second play. Okay, I'm good that you're going to restart the 40, but it wasn't 143. It should be about 139. And here's what's interesting in football. They said, Coach, it's only 3 seconds anyway. And I said, every second counts. Do you realize how many seconds there were left when they tied the game? 2. So I'm just.
2. The number of DUIs I haven't gotten.
He doesn't hold it up this way. It's the backhanded too.
Fight on.
Deuces, I'm out.
Do you think that helps Oklahoma State's case with the officials?
What's worse, Gundy or what Shador did? Because everyone's saying Shador is some, just terrible teammate.
I'm telling you now, Mike Gundy's a problem at Oak State. And until you come around to that, and because nobody's ever going to hold him accountable.
Clearly.
Nobody's ever going to hold him accountable. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Nobody will.
Nope.
Boise State should be closer to the playoffs than Oregon.
Yeah, he still lost the game.
Yeah, the problem is you didn't beat Oregon.
Yeah.
Calford, roll on, you Bears. Yeah, how about the Chicago Bears? Thank you for pointing out the Chicago Bears won.
What an incredible performance.
Oh, you meant right.
And by the way, shouldn't it be roar on, not roll on?
Roll Tide. Keep those blue blood receipts, Monty.
That's what I'm saying, dude. We had a whole meltdown Friday over Tennessee.
This might be the greatest told you so weekend I've ever had. Marcus Freeman, drop 8.
Michigan.
Cheat again.
Tennessee, Notre Dame.
Notice the Michigan fans are awfully quiet.
Yeah,
today.
where's Michigan fan? Where's Ferris Khan? Where's all the
Ferris Khan doesn't show up anymore.
Yeah, where's the buffoons who were out here defending Michigan?
Because remember that Connor Stallions was a lone wolf and Jim Harbaugh's innocent.
By the way, hey, Connor Stallions, dude, how's that interim head coaching career working for you?
Oh my God.
What was it, 60-0?
They got beat 60-0, and then he's on the field screaming in the face of an official. Michigan sucks. They're not good. They're not talented. And all the Michigan fans are like, this is Davis Warren's breakout performance. Yeah, we know. And he broke out. We broke out as a terrible quarterback.
Hey, look here, man.
That game went exactly as we told you it would.
You want Davis to be Davis McCarthy so bad. And he's not that guy, dude. He's not even close.
Not going to be able to get a nickel for Harbaugh's fine.
Yeah, dude. You're not going to be able to get a nickel for cheeseburgers to get guys out of the portal, dude. Come on.
Mike Smith, I kind of hate the idea of Utah winning the Big 12 only because they choke in the postseason. Well, they haven't won big games. I don't disagree with that.
Been saying it for months. It's terrible for the Big 12 if Utah comes out and wins the conference in year 1.
I would agree. I don't think
that's not a good look.
I don't think that's a good look at all. And I think it's going to happen. Now we'll see how Cam Rising's hand is, but I think it's going to happen. Wet blanket. Can't wait to hand Utah an L. 2 weeks. But what are you going to do when you don't? Because I don't think there's any doubt Utah's a superior football team, especially if Cam Rising's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Utah's a superior football team to Oklahoma State, especially if Cam Rising's healthy. Midweek Coug, Boise State, Washington State in a couple of weeks should be a great game. It really should be. Boise State's better. Boise State's better. Caleb Aylmore, stop James. Until Gundy gets rid of Bowman and Casey Dunn isn't the offensive coordinator, we will keep having questionable plays, especially before halftime. Run the football. And to Aaron Roderick's credit at BYU, he kept running the football even when you didn't want him to. And it did nothing, but at least he kept running the football. Why are you not featuring Ollie Gordon every week, no matter who the opponent is?
Yeah, I think the problem is like the formula for BYU is so much more difficult than it is for Oak State. Like, do you know the kind of balls you got to have to call that RPO play that ultimately wins you the game? Like, do you understand that?
How much trust you have to have in Jake Retzloff?
Like, dude, and he ran that to perfection. I mean, absolute perfection.
And I agree with Hans Olsen on the broadcast. If you want to show Pop Warner team how to run the RPO, you pull up that play because it's exactly right. He took the hit.
God bless your soul
and America. He took the hit and the pitch was perfect. As poor as Jake Retzloff played on Friday night, that pitch was exactly what you needed. Phenomenal play call in that moment.
So my point is with Oak State, like, if you're going to compare the two situations, like, I do agree they're comparable, but The formula at Oak State is so much easier. It starts by running the football with your workhorse of a back.
Yeah.
And then work from there and see how the game plays out. It's really not that difficult of a formula. It shouldn't be that hard.
It should not be, but I think places like Oak State, you tend to get cute with the football. And we forget, and I will just continue to say this repeatedly, we forget how difficult it is to just make the basic play call. Our offense is struggling. Well, let's keep having Alan Bowman do whatever we think he's going to do. Instead of, let's just give the ball to Ollie Gordon. Turn around and hand it to Gordon and let him thump dudes. Instead, you could see that Ollie was frustrated. Again, that play where he tried to get a flag on Arkansas and threw himself on the ground. How embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like, that's humiliating. When you are in that place,
football is a terrible look.
It's brutal. Odessa will be Russian again.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Well, you appreciate the $10. Cade Klubnik had the greatest half of any QB in Clemson history. And no Clemson starter played in the second half. It was Appy State.
Yeah. The problem is, you know why no one's talking about that, dude? Because, it was Appy State, and you lost the game that anybody cared about. So,
you didn't lose the game. You got thumped by Georgia. You're done. Do you really think that makes up for it? That doesn't make up for it.
I don't even think I'd have to look again, but I'm not sure you have a get back game because of Florida State struggles.
Yeah. Derek, but did you see that interception Shedeur threw? Reading the defense isn't a strong suit, but it's not even that. The interception on the pick six in the red zone is because he is so focused on, I've got 2 seconds. I think his average pop time was so much faster. Like, his get rid of it was so much from the time he got the ball to the release was so short, because he got sacked 6 times. I think he got hit 12 times.
Yeah.
Like, what? So he's turning and throwing, and the wide receiver never came to the football. It's a route where the wide receiver is supposed to turn and then curl in and stand in front of the corner. And
I disagree that reading the defense isn't his strong suit.
I think it is his strong suit.
It is his
It's
strong
what he does
suit.
well.
However, I won't give him a free pass. That's a bad decision. I agree the route was not run correctly, but that's still a bad decision because you're on the far hash, throwing all the way across the field. It's not a good decision. And I think one thing Shedeur struggles with right now is holding the football just too damn long.
Yes.
Like, you can't, once again, and again, I love Shedeur. I think he's going to be, by anyone's measure, a top 5 pick in this year's upcoming draft, if not the number 1 overall pick. I think you can easily see how his game translates to the league. I think the issue is that he's playing hero ball. He doesn't have the opportunity to go through his progression the way Cam Rising does. Why do you think Cam Rising is so good at what he does? Oh, I know. Because he's got just a wall of an offensive line most of the time. Now, there were some questions. I agree. The offensive line at Utah struggled a bit. But they do a good enough job where Cam has plenty of time to make decisions and plenty of time to step into throws. So with all due respect, Utah fan, that take is just, you don't know what you're talking about.
I disagree with you, Derek. I think his strong suit is reading defenses. He holds the ball too long, for sure. Caleb Aylmore. Although I agree, Eye Patch Gundy obviously needs to be playing Zane instead of someone 1,000 years old at quarterback. No, I listen again. We've had this conversation on the show. Like, Zane Flores is a guy that everybody wants to see. I think Garrett Rangel is the guy you should be playing. That's the guy you should be playing. He's at least got some experience. And I don't know. The idea that Alan Bowman, Oak State James, and I can't remember who the other one was, sat on this show last year and talked about how Flores was the savior of the program. And you still started Alan Bowman. There's no excuse for Mike Gundy.
Because what's happened? Mike Gundy's refusal to go out and find a quarterback has made it so it's Bowman's team. So if you go ahead and switch quarterbacks, now the team's going to be in flux and you're not going to be in a good spot. But you're already not in a good spot because Alan Bowman's not talented. So, like, it's really just the pick your poison situation.
Yeah. It's a lightly dislocated finger with a cut. Cam will be fine for Oak State. We need to know if there's a break in there. And I don't think we'll ever know. I think they're not going to tell us. But if he's not able to play, that's when you're going to know that it's a broken finger. Because usually when you dislocate a finger, it's either no big deal and you're going to be fine, or we need to see him throwing a football. Because if he's got a break in that finger, and again, the question that I asked on Saturday was, okay, if you dislocated your finger, you did that falling into that Gatorade pit. You're telling me there's not a broken bone when it is a collision that dislocated the finger? I have a hard time believing that. I have a hard time believing there's no break in there. I don't know how that could be possible. I truly don't know how that could be possible. I want it to be, because if it's just a dislocation, I've known 1,000 quarterbacks who've played with a dislocated finger on their throwing hand. And it didn't, from the wrap, it looked like it was one of his two middle fingers. As long as he's got a pinky and a pointer finger, he can throw a football. Because his thumb is fine by all accounts. And he'll be fine. If there's no break, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. Lamont Tucker. I don't think that Davis Warren is all the problem. It was coaching, no adjustments. Offense was a no-show. I think Hart and Wantu was the biggest problem on the field for Michigan against Texas. It was shocking to watch Michigan simply not compete on a dozen snaps in that game. Not compete. And then on top of that, you don't have the ability to drive the ball. You weren't able to run the ball. You weren't able to throw the ball in critical situations. Michigan never threatened Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Never threatened Texas. And a lot of it was, you're simply not as talented as Texas is. It's that. If you're a Michigan fan and you want to take something away, how are you going to get talent when you're going through this situation with Jim Harbaugh? Because you're not going to be able to win recruiting battles. That's going to be very difficult now. And more to the point, in today's world, you're not going to be able to win portal battles, because as much as you can likely still get, your 3 and 4 star recruit, do you now have the staff in place to develop them? And I think you got to start asking now, do we have a good coaching staff? Because there wasn't much talent on the field that was difference making on the freshman sophomore side.
Right.
And furthermore, aren't you just playing with the canned vegetables that were in the cupboard that you found when you got hungry?
Yes.
Isn't that what this was with Davis Warren? He's not a difference maker.
Well, and that would be my question for folks like Lamont who are Michigan fans. Like I agree, it's not all on Davis, but you can't certainly sit here and say that you're excited about Davis Warren being your quarterback.
I don't think so. Mike Smith blamed the OC and the head coach for not even attempting to run the ball to help Sanders at QB. Well, I think, first of all, Raiola is the real deal. I think Matt Rule is the real deal. And I think that defensive front is the real deal. And I don't know what Colorado does to get bowl eligible, because I think it's going to be very difficult. After that performance, now you got to go to Colorado State. That's going to be tough. That's going to be tough. Simon 2077, amazing K-State wins a road game. So Avery Johnson, a sophomore quarterback, he was not good. He was not good. Fat man hatred is getting a little old. Okay. So the fat man, explain to me, Simon, what have we seen from Avery Johnson that makes any of us believe that he is something special? Because all I've heard about is how he's better than Will Howard and we ran Will Howard's ass out of the program and he lost his job. And so now fat man being hatred, exactly what is it that we've seen from Avery Johnson that makes us think, yeah, this guy's a huge difference maker. Dual threat. He ran for 40 yards. That's a dual threat. Not throwing particularly well. So is he special throwing the ball? And again, I just ask, what have we seen? And I'm here for it today on Avery Johnson.
Yeah, if you're going to come in here and be a red ass in the comments section,
no, and
Avery
be
Johnson,
the guy who's like fat man. Because by the way, yeah, I've never heard that before. How that is, I mean, that is really original. That's amazing. So Avery Johnson, 15 of 23, 181, 2 touchdowns. And this is against Tulane. Remember, all the K-State fans Thursday and Friday were telling us you're going to beat wholesale ass in New Orleans against Tulane. And I told you weren't. And if Tulane doesn't have a really terrible turnover in the fourth quarter, do you even win that game? Okay, so DJ Giddens, because remember, Dylan Edwards was best friends with Avery Johnson, and they were going to be this dynamic duo. Have they been that yet? Because the season's getting easier, right, as we head for conference play. I mean, it's only little Tulane. What did Avery Johnson do that makes us think, man, this guy's amazing? So on the season, he's 29 of 44 for 334, 4 touchdowns and an interception. And I would remind you that they played UT Martin in Tulane. And he's only got 334 yards passing. So, and that's on 44 attempts. And to his credit, at least he has been more accurate. 66% is very, very respectable. But what have we seen that, as a fat ass, I'm just, because I don't know anything about football, I'm just asking, what have we seen that makes him some elite quarterback? Because he's not even top half in the Big 12. What have we seen? I'm here for it. This is your chance, Avery Johnson apologist. I'm here for it.
Yeah. Where's your next comment? Waiting for it here.
What have we seen? Because again, we can just sit here and we can go over the Big 12 passing leaders, right? Who would you rather have, Avery Johnson or Shedeur Sanders? Avery Johnson or Cam Rising? Avery Johnson or Noah Fafita? Avery Johnson or Jalen Daniels? Who would you? All of them over your guy. Hoover at TCU? Yes. So
Baron Morton.
Oh, yes. Without, it's not even close. It's not even close. Baron Morton's got 700 yards passing. Shedeur Sanders. Brendan Sorsby, who by all accounts has been pretty average, has twice as many passing yards as your guy. Josh Hoover, Noah Fafita, Alan Bowman or Avery Johnson. Probably Avery Johnson. There you go. There's a guy I would take Avery over. Jake Retzloff, I'm taking Jake Retzloff every day. Rocco Becht, I'm taking Rocco Becht every day. Garrett Green, toss up. Donovan Smith, I'm probably taking Avery Johnson. Cam Rising, I'm taking Cam Rising every day. Every single day. So where's the
hate if it's true that your guy's mediocre, dude.
What I'm here for it. I'm waiting for you. As the resident fat ass on the show, I'm waiting for it. Simon 2077. That's right. You can't because you can't. So I'm here for it, dude. No loss. I stated facts. You haven't stated any facts. I get sick of hatred these two have for K-State. There's no hatred. Guy, do you understand we had Will Howard on the show, twice last year? And this is what I love about red ass. We don't get respect. Respect is earned. It is not given. In football, you earn respect. K-State has not earned respect. You damn near went to Tulane, who K-State fans trashed last week, and you almost lost. And Avery Johnson has been dead ass average Average. It's a freaking joke. At least I got to state my case without being held hostage to pay for it. Because you make yourself look foolish. And speaking of held hostage, it's called a business. We read member comments because they pay to be here. So it's not held hostage. Devin C, does Notre Dame still have a shot at the playoff? It's over.
Nah. They don't have a get back. That's the problem. This is exactly what we talked about last week.
Yeah.
Notre Dame doesn't have a get back. And by the way, even if you did have a get back, you're not getting away from that embarrassing loss.
Yeah. There's no way back.
Like a committee member in November is not going to see and be like, yeah, well, if Notre Dame with that NIU loss, man,
it's over.
You're not getting in, dude.
And again, this is who Marcus Freeman is. He does not win on a consistent basis. And in really critical moments, he can't make good decisions. And Riley Leonard, has anybody thought about why Riley Leonard is at Notre Dame? Because how did he play when Duke came to Notre Dame? He almost beat him. So Marcus Freeman did what all bad coaches do. They go and get the guy that they fell in love with because I saw with my own two eyes. No, Marcus, your team wasn't good.
That's what we saw.
Your team wasn't good, so you went and got Riley Leonard, who took advantage of your bad team. He was at Duke. It doesn't make him a good quarterback. But because he played well at Notre Dame, against Notre Dame, you fell in love with the guy. And again, this is what I say about Oak State and everybody else. Just because you're active in the portal doesn't mean you're good at it. You're not Alabama. You're not Ohio. Look at Ohio State. Ohio State active in the portal, and it's all paying dividends.
Ole Miss
active in the portal, and
Texas.
It's all paying dividends. Just because you're active in the portal doesn't mean it's helping your team, Deion Sanders. Right? Active in the portal, way better defense. Way better defense. No offensive line. With 3 guys you brought in,
who were supposed to be amazing.
You recruited one and you have a holdover. And your offensive line somehow feels worse. I don't know that it's possible to be worse than last year, but yeah. Mike Smith, but Monty, why do you keep forcing these guys to come in here when they hate your takes so much?
Yeah.
Must be some Jedi-like powers.
Right.
I know.
It's a mind trick, you know.
I just died in my cycling class. Well, I'm glad you didn't. No, I'm not doing it. Dude that abides. Sharon Moore developed the O-line that dominated the Big Ten the last 3 seasons. All new starters there. They'll come together in time. Warren has arm talent, but happy feet not getting past the first read. I think the biggest issue with Warren, with their running game, is there's no continuity at all on offense. But it seems like they weren't excited. There
wasn't a strategy to go out and get after Texas
and be enthusiastic about it. Like, all right, we're going to dominate this run. This is a counter, and we're going to run in the A gap. Because you have a really big physical running back, but there's no continuity. And it's because of it. It doesn't matter how good your offensive line is. When the defense doesn't have to respect the passing game, and with that secondary at Texas and the inability of your quarterback to drive the ball down the field, there's no reason to respect the passing game. So you're running into loaded boxes against bigger, more physical, more talented guys.
Yeah, I mean, do you guys understand how rare it is in college football, today's college football anyway? Even in the Big Ten, which is a conference that's always been run first, big offensive linemen, that's always been the Big Ten. But do you understand how rare it is to see a defense bring their safety inside of like 15 yards because they don't have to respect you over the top?
It kills you.
That's the problem for Michigan, man. And I'm not even saying that Dude abides is wrong here. Hey, maybe
not at all.
Maybe it is. Hey, you don't have that continuity yet. Like Davis is still trying to get his feet under him, if you will. Like, okay, fine. I'm fine with that. I'm down with that. But my struggle is, let's say that that's true. My struggle is, do you believe that Sharon Moore as a head coach, not a coordinator, but as a head coach, can develop the O-line, can develop Davis, like that's your responsibility now as a head coach?
Sharon Moore withstand the amount of losing that is going to come to Ann Arbor? That's the only question I have. Because
that's a tough road, bro.
When you take over a program for a guy like Jim Harbaugh, who left you, in my opinion, in a really the worst spot I've ever seen in college football history. How does Sharon Moore build a talent base there? It's going to be really hard to do that because you're not, if they get a postseason ban, like if they, let's say there's very little punishment and Michigan fan is right, and it was just buying hungry kids cheeseburgers, which we now know was a complete BS lie, you know, and Sharon Moore himself has a show cause notice for that, you know. If this Connor Stallions thing, and he was a lone wolf, and which is the most ridiculous argument because it doesn't matter if he was a lone wolf or not. If this turns out to be nothing and there's no punishment, how are you going to build a base of talent when you're not going to win games this year? Because you're not better. I don't know. Is Michigan better than USC? Not right now. What would a Michigan-Oregon game look like? We're going to find out. But if we just sit here and we look at the standings in the Big Ten, how indicative are these standings right now? You better hope not much, because at 1-1, you're in the bottom half of that conference. And you look at your schedule, USC coming to the Big House, Minnesota, then you've got two pretty difficult games at Washington and at Illinois.
Right.
And then Oregon comes in November. Who figures themselves out more, Michigan or Oregon by that time?
You would think Oregon,
because Oregon's wildly talented.
But look at that stretch on their schedule, though, too. Like, I don't think the Michigan State game is a gimme based on who you're playing before that. I mean, you're on the road 2 weeks in a row. Then you're in your rivalry game with Michigan State, and then you have Oregon. Like, that's a tough. Like, I know it's Michigan State, but still, that's a tough schedule, man.
Yeah, Michigan State handled Maryland. They're 1-0 in conference.
Like, you should, like, on paper, you should beat Michigan State, obviously.
Yes, you would think.
But that's still a rivalry game. That's still going to be one of those games where you're going to have to grind. So I would expect after this week and what you didn't do against Texas, I would expect Michigan to come out and establish the run first. That's what I would expect Sharon Moore to go to. Hey, we got to get the offensive line working. We got to get the run game going. And then from there, Davis can kind of settle in.
Yeah. I don't disagree. What's up, Steve Stepanek? Hope you're well. Boyd Lake, Shedeur Sanders is in a tough spot, but it's not a surprise that Prime hasn't valued his O-line development enough. I bet he knows their names now. I think you don't develop when you have that much turnover. When you're, and this is the portal conundrum. They needed a massive influx of talent. He got that defensively, but now with Shermer as your offensive coordinator, his plays need to develop. And now I think we're going to see, because I think the saving grace of Colorado's offense is Shedeur's IQ. His football IQ is
immense. So
he can adjust on the fly, but not if he's not physically able to play the game. 6 sacks, 12 total QB contacts. That's way too much.
He's not going to make it the whole season.
You're not. And Colorado State is not going to be easy. I don't know that they win that game.
And by the way, now that Shiloh's out on the back end of the defense, that's not great either.
That was tough to watch. Simon is a shadow account for a burner phone. It's secretly James taking the heat off Oak State. I think
a shadow account for a burner phone.
I just think it's sad that we're in a place where guys don't agree with takes, so they come in and like call you fat. And it's like, dude, thank you for telling us who you are. Now we never have to talk to you again. Like it's just what we do in sports. If we don't agree, we've never made it personal with K-State. You just don't agree with the take. So it's what we do in this country. We bring violence because we don't agree with it. We don't follow the rules because we don't agree with the rule, unless it's being applied to somebody else.
Yeah, you weren't here last year when we were talking about Will Howard.
But yet you come in and it's like, oh, fat guy. Okay, thanks for telling us who you are.
Yeah.
Thanks for telling us who you are. The Notre Dame could get back only if USC is top 10 at the end of the season. They're done.
But see, again, even then, even if you were to go undefeated and beat USC and like it was all great, I still don't think you can put him in because of that loss.
It's a terrible loss.
That's a terrible, embarrassing. And look, I could even lie to myself if they had won this game. I could say, hey, you know what? You won the game. You grinded it out. Sure, Monty's going to say Marcus Freeman's a joke as a head coach, and that's true. But if you had won the game, I could say, okay, this is a really bad look. You won the game by 3 points. This should be a 30-point win. You beat the hell out of this team, and you didn't do that. You better go undefeated and beat USC at the end of the year, and then maybe you could get in. But now it's over.
I mean, and you look at the schedule, and it's gesundheit. It is at don't
boiler down.
Miami of Ohio, Louisville, Stanford, Georgia Tech, and even the Georgia Tech games at the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta. Then it's Navy at Yankee Stadium. Florida State, I think, is at the stadium and is at Notre Dame, but Florida State has to turn it around and win games. You need them to win in dominant fashion. I don't know if they can do that. Right? Then it's Virginia at home. Right? Army at home, and then you're at USC.
Let's pull up the bracket one more time. Just to give people perspective here. If you pull up this bracketology from On3 that they put out, Andy Staples. Who should Notre Dame be in over any of these squads? Even the first 4 out teams here. Seriously, legitimate question. Who should Notre Dame be in over these folks? Because I'm not sure there is a team.
I mean, Oregon, Oak State, K-State, Nebraska are all going through conference schedules. Even the G5s. Now, does Notre Dame have a better win than Northern Iowa or Northern Illinois, excuse me? Good old DeKalb? No, because they supposedly beat the world's best football team ever. Right?
South Florida, I guess?
It is really going to be difficult. It is really going to be difficult for Notre Dame to make a case that they belong in any of the first 4 out. And I mean, certainly not Penn State, who's going to go through the Big Ten if they make it. Ole Miss in the SEC. It's going to be tough. And I'm not even convinced SC. I think Mizzou's got a tough road ahead. But what conference are we talking about? We're talking about the SEC. And all these guys have quality schedules that are going to be, they're not Army and Navy and Georgia Tech and Atlanta. And
telling you that Tennessee win, you guys all joked about it last week. Tennessee being good is huge for the SEC.
And look at the AP poll.
Yeah, look at this. Look at this. Look at where Tennessee is now.
And look at where the SEC is in the top 10. They've got 6 teams in the top 10. SC, Utah, Oak State 13th is a gift.
Yeah.
Right? K-State at 14, Oklahoma a gift at 15. And the thing that scares you is a team like Nebraska at 23 has the quality opponents if they win games to move up.
Yeah. Well, and I also feel like with the poll here, what they're telling us is that AP writers right now, the folks who have a vote on this, are telling us, hey, we don't think that Big 12 teams, generally speaking, right now are better than the SEC or the Big 10 teams that are in the top 10. But we do believe that they have an opportunity to prove that as we get deeper into the schedule, which is why I think you see 3 in a row there from 12 to 14. And the problem is, again, and this is what I've been saying even before the season started, I don't believe that Oklahoma State has the get-over power that Utah has the ability to go out and get over the hump. I don't see it the way I see it with Utah. And that's why, this jag of a K-State fan here, you're making a fool of yourself because K-State doesn't have any type of get-over-the-hump ability with Avery Johnson. So all you guys out here talking about, oh, Will Howard got run out of the program. Dude, you need Will Howard to be able to climb into the top 10.
Yeah. I don't know. The Big 12, I think, is the second best football conference in the country. I think it's going to be an incredibly difficult. Now, I think if you lose in September, Kansas, and I'm a big Kansas believer, that ship has sailed now. Because I don't know how you recover from that. It's why K-State's winning that game against Tulane was so critically important. Because you lose that game, the road is very difficult to come back from. and you lose to Northern Illinois. Even if Notre Dame runs the table, I can't see them getting in with how bad this loss was. And that's the problem. You were never in danger of winning the game.
Yeah, you would need another top 10 opponent on your schedule at least. And I'm saying that's in addition to USC, assuming USC's there at the end of the year.
Riley Leonard is such a massive disappointment. I can't even.
Yeah, it was a mistake.
Tanner Plummer, who's been a member of the show for 20 months.
Damn.
Tanner Plummer. What if Northern Illinois goes undefeated and Notre Dame wins out? Irish could make it into the college football playoff then.
But see, like even then, that's a stretch because it's Northern Illinois. Like,
yeah, you're going to have Florida State going back to court to sue again.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, that's the hard
part. That was unnecessary. Justin Bemis, I live in Northeast Texas, close to Arkansas. I watched the game at a dive bar. You should have heard the Hog fans. I almost felt bad for them. That was painful to watch. Arkansas just made so many mistakes.
And you know what the other problem is? The Pac-12 schools that are now in the Big 12 aren't getting the free passes for average-ass losses. Or like you're these schools that are taking like average losses or not good performances. People are watching these now because you're now in the Big 12, a conference that's more respected than the Pac-12 was. And I look at that's why Utah can't afford to lose. That's why Arizona being 2-0, like that's huge. And I'm just telling you, if it's Utah at the end of the year, if it's Utah, Arizona, then Oak State, then maybe Kansas, or like if you've got those Pac-12 teams sprinkled in the top 5, I'm just telling you that's not going to be good.
Dude that abides, Texas is also probably the best team in the nation right now. Best O-line for sure. I agree with that. A backup QB, most other teams would start. A top-notch D, a win would have been amazing, but they'll grow from this one. You better hope so.
Yeah.
You better hope so. We're going to find out who this team is over the next couple of weeks at Michigan. I think that's for sure. There's no doubt about that. Let's see. Oh, Spencer Williams says you're a liar. You didn't listen to the OSU, Ohio State postgame with Oklahoma State with Mike. Well, I watched it on YouTube. I mean, do you think it's hard to find? What are you talking about?
What do you mean? What am I lying about?
Are you out of? Do you know how easy it is to find postgame feeds on YouTube?
I'm just trying to understand what am I lying about?
What are you lying? What are you talking?
I didn't even
see. This is the kind of comment that I don't understand. I don't understand that. I've never understood that. You're picking out a post-game comment that you don't like. Calford, this is why Notre Dame needs to be in a conference. They don't need to be in a conference. This is why Notre Dame needs to beat teams like Northern Illinois, who they paid $1.4 million to come to South Bend to play.
This is why Marcus Freeman can't be your head coach at Notre Dame. This is not, it's not conference related because, again, with all due respect, Calford, I love you, man. If Notre Dame goes undefeated and just handles their business against crap teams like NIU, they're in the playoff. This has nothing to do with conference affiliation.
Oak State just beat the very best FCS and mid-SEC team. Who you beat? I don't know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
The problem is, at this time of year, it matters as much how you win those games against lesser opponents, just as much as it does winning the game. Yeah, you got to win the game. How did you win the game? You needed a lot of help to beat Arkansas. A lot. And I think you got exposed quite a bit. And now it comes down to winning the conference, because I think your confidence in that club is sinking.
You have to beat Utah.
It's not even an option. Yeah. UW fan Jim, I think Nebraska is for real. Oh, and I hate K-State because of the stupid stadium name. Okay. I think Nebraska is for real. Are they back? Not yet.
But they are much improved.
They are much improved. Daniel Dixon, hello. Iowa State can even jump Notre Dame with wins. Yes, they can.
Yeah.
Good win for Iowa State.
Scheduling.
Good win for Iowa State. It is wild. And I think one of the things that we've talked about with the Big Ten is the Big Ten needs the Iowas, the Minnesotas, the Purdue's, the Indianas,
Well, why do you hate Purdue?
I do hate Purdue. There's nothing good that happens in West Lafayette. Nothing. You need the bottom half because the bottom half of the Big 12 is going to be very good this year. It is going to be, I think you're looking like, again, a win like BYU got at SMU. I think that's one of those character building wins that shows you BYU actually has heart, tenacity. ATN, who Oak State fans said sucked out loud, really playing really well at left tackle for BYU. And you're starting to see that BYU's now got a real legitimate defense that play makes.
Yeah.
You're starting to see that these wide receivers, look at the difference that Darius Lassner makes. Look at now you got to catch the football, but look at the difference that those wide receivers make. And I think that was a character building win.
Well, and getting Keanu Hill to move to tight end is a big deal.
I would agree.
He's a mismatch for most defenses.
They have multiple tight ends they can throw the ball to.
Yeah.
Multiple tight ends.
But I would agree also that this SMU win is not a win you would have had last year.
No, they'd have lost that game.
Yeah, you'd have lost that game last year.
They'd have lost that game, no doubt about it. Midweek Coug, Oregon State has a good chance, especially since it's at home. They do. That's one of the big critical games this week that I think the Big 12 is only balanced in the fact that they are mostly average teams. I don't disagree with that. But I think the Big 10 is going to suffer under UCLA. The Big 10 is going to suffer under their historical teams. Northwestern's not going to be good. Minnesota doesn't look to be good. I mean, that was a huge win for Nebraska.
Yeah.
Do
you guys see what matters how you win the ball game? Like, it wasn't just that you would beat Colorado. Like, you dominated Colorado.
And again, I will continue to tell you, recruit your quarterbacks, portal your skill positions. Right? Because Raiola at Nebraska is their guy, and he's going to be their guy for 3 years now.
Even if it is a little weird how much he copies Patrick Mahomes.
But true. But again, this Riley Leonard thing at Notre Dame, how many years are you going to have a portal quarterback starting?
At Notre Dame. I'm starting to get into Michigan territory a bit with Notre Dame. Like, Notre Dame deserves better at quarterback than that. Notre Dame deserves to,
yeah, you do.
like Notre Dame is a program that should be right there every single year in the playoff. They should be. That's the expectation.
Well, look at like Miller Moss at USC, 229 more yards. Miller Moss has been in that program for 3 years.
What's his yards per attempt? That's a good example right here.
Miller Moss averages 10.5 yards per attempt.
I'm telling you, the over-under number on productive quarterbacks is 10. If you're 10 or more, and I don't care if it's 10.1
that's elite
or 12 or whatever, you're doing some good things at quarterback. If you're 6, 7
is the minimum.
Like we've seen some guys this year so far have been like 6.8. You're just throwing underneath. You're running, 5 to 7 yard crossers and you're doing that because you can't run the football.
Yeah.
I think
it's going to be really interesting to see how the Big 10 and the Big 12 play out. You guys may be right. The Big 10 has more nameplates. There's no doubt about that. Dude that abides, for what it's worth, I don't think Michigan should be ranked. They've shown nothing to earn a ranking. But they're Michigan, so you get the benefit. But that's the advantage you have. You get the benefit of the doubt if you're USC. Or people have USC in the college football playoff. They haven't earned that.
The difference is people would be surprised if Michigan wasn't in the top 25.
Yeah. Tanner says Florida State will probably sue again and lose again. Probably. Wet blanket. It's nothing new for Oak State to come from behind and win. It's nothing new for Arkansas to blow a lead. Well, it's not that they blew a lead. Arkansas fell apart. The fumbles, the timeouts, that's a poorly coached team. That's a poorly coached team, in my opinion. Just not well put together at all. Big Blue Horses, who fires head coach first? Texas Tech, Baylor, Florida, Maryland, Michigan. Whose seat is hotter after Napier?
I actually don't think that 8-ball seat is that hot.
I don't think so either.
Like, watching that game, they were playing their ass off. Like, they were working hard. They were, like, as much as I despise that cheap ass shot on Cam Rising, if you're Baylor, that's the type of thing you have to do. I say it all the time on the show. If you're a team that you're going in somewhere and you know that you're not the better team, you know that you're going to need to like change the variables in the game, go out and take advantage of it. Like, you're Baylor. What's anyone going to say? You're a dirty team and you suck? Yeah, we know you're not a good team. We know that you probably make some questionable plays. So I actually don't think that 8-ball seat is hot. They came back in that game a little bit. They pushed Utah. Utah had to possess the football and run the football and kind of flex a little bit to win the game. I think he's doing fine. I don't love the fact that he's out in the media this past week talking about how he's not a human anymore, that he's a machine and all he does is just makes game plans and that's it. Like, I don't love that as a head coach, but you're coaching Baylor. Like, if you're going to, take that program to the next level, you would need a coach that's full of life, full of personality, someone who embraces the media. And that's not Dave. It never has been and never will be.
No, little breaking news, as always presented by Prize Picks. Pitt has fired Heather Like, their athletic director, who I think was up for like half a dozen jobs this summer. And she's out. They have relieved her of her athletic director duties this morning at Pitt. Wow. That's shocking. That's shocking. I think people knew that change was going to come to Pitt, but that's surprising.
Yeah. Now,
that is really surprising. And when you start looking at, programs that you thought I don't know that anybody had expectations. Maybe that's why she's out. But why now? Why now? Especially after Pitt beat Cincinnati in a thrilling come from behind victory over the weekend, where Holstein had those 3 big touchdowns. But wow, that's a little surprising.
And do I remember correctly? Maybe I'm wrong. Wasn't Pitt in the tournament for basketball this past year?
Yeah.
I believe they were.
I believe they were. Wow, breaking news out of Pittsburgh. That's a little surprising there. That is a little surprising there.
Wonder what the game plan is. Wonder what they're trying to do. Obviously improve, but
yeah. Eric Wasikowski, who's been a member for 8 months.
Cool. What's his comment?
No talk about Caleb Williams' pathetic debut. Well, if he had a pathetic debut, we'd be talking about it. How did he have a pathetic debut? As usual, Eric Wasikowski. Got to be something going on there. The timing is so odd. That is a really odd decision.
Yeah.
A really odd decision for Heather Like to be fired. The athletic director at Pitt fired. That is surprising.
I would agree. I'm not saying it's some controversy, but
Ooh.
Yeah, something's got to be happening, because you don't do that in the middle of the football season. Like,
you don't do that in September.
Yeah, I mean that's
you do that in May or June.
Yeah. In
That's
the dead
wild.
period in sports.
Prize Picks, prizepicks.com, America's favorite daily fantasy game. Got hammered on Prize Picks in college, dominated in the NFL, because Caleb Williams was so pathetic.
Yeah, just terrible, embarrassing.
I thought, and we'll talk NFL tomorrow. I thought Caleb was great. I thought he was really good for who he is and where he is and the number of drop passes that the Bears had. How about that Chicago Bears defense?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Making plays.
And I'm just going to say again, Will Levis is not a franchise quarterback. I'll take that to my grave, I guess. Will Levis is not a franchise quarterback. But Prize Picks is waiting for you with the best daily fantasy promotion I've ever seen. Use the promo code Monty, M-O-N-T-Y, Monty. You deposit $5 in a new Prize Picks account. They'll give you $50 more. You can play with $55 for an entire season. You deposit $5. They'll give you $50 more. Download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty, M-O-N-T-Y, Monty, and get on board. DM me on Twitter or tweet at me on Twitter or Instagram. Show me what your Prize Picks are. Let's play together. I'm telling you, it is the easiest money to make. Make 3 selections on a flex play, because on flex, you only have to win 2 of your 3 picks to get paid. You'll win money all season long playing flex plays. 3 selections on a flex play, $5. Boom, done. That's all you got to do. Deposit $5 in a new account at Prize Picks. Download their app. They'll give you $50 more when you deposit $5 in a new account. Use the promo code Monty. to get the best daily fantasy promotion I've seen. All right, a couple more because you guys have been amazing. Garbage time stats mean nothing. I would agree with that. Garbage time stats don't mean much. The truth about Caleb Williams is he's a rookie. And I think people thought he was going to come out and throw the ball all over the field. He didn't make the critical mistake to kill his team. And I thought the throw to DeAndre Swift in the corner there for the 2-point conversion was crucial. He made the plays he had to make when he had to make them. But he was not special. He was not spectacular. But for a rookie, I'm thrilled with that.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, you had several drop touchdown passes. I mean, he's,
And the offensive line sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Bears don't have a good offensive line. And Matt Eberflus, the head coach of the Bears, who we affectionately or unaffectionately call Eber sucks on this show, is saying that they all along planned to rotate. No, you didn't. You did not.
Sure, Matt.
You did not, dude. You did not. You did not at all. So, come on. Midweek Coug, Bears OC will hold Williams back. Terrible play calling. Run the ball more. Get him outside. The thing that I don't understand, and this is what I say about Jake Retzloff as well at BYU, get him outside the pocket. Where does Caleb Williams thrive? Where has he always thrived? Rolling outside the pocket. He is a playmaker. You can't ask him to stand in the pocket and try to read defenses and third level. That's not who the guy is. Get him outside the pocket. He does not want to run. That much is very clear. So let him move and let him be mobile for the purpose of finding an open wide receiver.
Yep.
He is elite at that. He is absolutely elite at that. And he says the NFL news god, the Rams defense is decent, but not being able to stop the run will kill them in big games. I would agree with that. There are a lot of questions about, you look at that division now. Sam Darnold is clearly played the best quarterback in that division over the weekend. Jordan Love looked average and then sprained his MCL in a third world country.
And now they reached out to Ryan Tannehill to come in and fill in.
Brutal. Absolutely brutal. Packers are going to have a tough go. We got to talk about Deshaun Watson tomorrow.
Oh, by the way, and we'll get to it tomorrow. Where are all the haters on Dak? Where are all the, hey, he's not going to get paid. He's terrible.
Yeah. Cyclone Steve, do you not read all the monthly member posts anymore, or do you clump them to? Dude, we get a lot of comments on the show. So usually during the football season, I only will read the haterade comments, but I honestly don't look at many non-member comments. But we get so many. We usually get this comment 2 or 3 times a year. I'm done. You're not reading. Dude, Jimmy, we've gotten over 1,000 comments today. It's difficult.
By the way, you could pay 20 cents and get your comment highlighted.
Yeah,
if you want it read that bad.
Which is fine. We talked about Iowa State. You got a huge win. But it's fine. Coach Campbell making a difference in Detroit. The tough mentality and the players are making a difference. He is a great motivator.
Time to win the big game, though.
It is.
Now that's where you guys are at.
And your guy, Jared Goff.
Gaff.
Jared Goff is your guy. Right, that's it. Show's over. Back tomorrow. A lot more NFL tomorrow on the show. A lot of preview looking forward to week 3 in college football.
Jets or Niners? Jets or Niners? I'm taking the Niners. Aaron's got to show me.
God, I hope the Jets lose. I would take the Niners as well. The Monty Show, as always, presented by our good friends at The Advocates, theadvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business. Smash the like button on your way out the door. Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.